Hey there, everybody. Welcome to my newest series, which is Getting Older and Aging. This is the third installment of this new series that I'm doing, and I'm glad to be here again. Hopefully, those of you that have watched have enjoyed the first two entries. So, this one is about disappointments, and it's not, I wouldn't say, the most uplifting. But there is cause for optimism as we get towards the end of this little diatribe that I have for you today. So, one of the things I've found that's very difficult about getting older and aging is dealing with the disappointments of the things we didn't do. I think all of us had ideas of what life was going to be like when we were older. You go back to your high school days or even earlier, you may have had a vision in your head as to what your life would look like. And probably a lot of that was based on, what you saw out of your parents and families, but also what you saw on TV and in the movies. So I think we can agree that maybe it wasn't the most realistic vision um, to have. We weren't in the workforce yet, so a lot of us didn't know the ins and outs of how the workplace goes and how relationships go. So it was kind of an ultra, probably usually an ultra positive view, optimistic view of what life was going to be like. And I think as you get older, you find out fairly quickly that life isn't really like that. It's not like in the movies or on TV. You don't just get the ideal job or have the ideal marriage, or your kids don't turn out exactly the way you foresaw that they would. So that there's a reality check eventually, and when you get to your 40s and your 50s, and you're starting to look back on these things, I think what you're going to find is there were a lot of things you probably wanted to do, thought you would do, that you didn't do, that just didn't happen for you. So let's take a look at that today. So, regardless of whether your plans were for your education or your relationship or your job, or to travel or to own your own business or become rich and famous, whatever they were, if they didn't happen for you, here's the reality of it, and here's some optimism, because there are some solutions here. Because we don't want to just look back in disappointment at the things in our life that we did not accomplish. First of all, we're still here. Here's the ultimate cause for optimism: we're still here. It's not too late to do some of these things we weren't able to get accomplished. Now, obviously, there's things you can't go back and do again. I mean, I'm never going to be an NBA player, but you know what I can do? I once said that I wanted to travel. I wanted to go overseas. I've yet to do that. One of the few people I know that has not traveled abroad. I still hopefully will have opportunity to do that going into the future. So that's not kind of a done deal. Okay, yeah, there are things we're never going to do. Okay, your senior prom's not going to come around again. Okay, your children, if you have them, aren't going to be two again. So if you missed out on something, it's pretty much done. But there's many things left to do. There's many things left to do. So I want you to think about the things you wanted to do in your youth, and kind of separate them into things you can still accomplish, and there's things you can, and those things you can't, you can just kind of push off to the side, and you're going to have to come to terms with that those things aren't going to be able to be done. But how about that list of things we can still do? Travel, own your own business, be your own boss, um, start a new hobby, whatever they are. These are still things you could do. These are still things you can do. That's fairly common sense, but I want to bring a different perspective to you today on something else you can do, rather than look back and regret as to the things you weren't able to accomplish in the first 40 or 50 years of your life. There's a recognition that I've recently found that I want to share with you guys, and hopefully it'll help. And it's not an easy thing to swallow, but it can be very valuable if you're able to digest it. Maybe, just maybe, things happened exactly like they were supposed to. Now, we could get into the religious aspects of this, or spiritual aspects, or all kind, whether you believe in God or fate, or the universe, or whatever you believe in. It doesn't really matter at this point. I'm talking about sometimes things just it was the way they were supposed to go. So however you want to reconcile that with your own spiritual or religious beliefs, that's up to you. I'm not here to give a sermon today. Maybe I'll do that another day. Maybe things happen just as they can. I'm going to give you an example, and this was the reality check for me. Okay? Ideally, what I wanted to do when I was younger was I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to own my own business. I wanted to be rich and famous. I recognized fairly early on that that was not going to be able to happen. I mean, it may still yet be my own boss, but my secondary goal was I wanted to go back and teach at my old high school. I went to school to be a teacher, and I had heard stories. Many of the teachers that I had when we went through actually went to school there. There were alumni, and they came back and taught at their school, taught at West York schools. They were welcome there. That was encouraged by the then administration. Well, I went to school during kind of a bridge time, so a lot of the teachers I had while I was in college, a lot of the teachers I had while I was in high school, while I was in college, they were retiring. They all started way back in the 50s, and they were retiring, including the administration. So long story short, when I got out of college with my teaching degree, it was not as welcoming an environment towards alumni as it had been previously. Okay? So actually, the word on the street, by the street I mean Bannister Street, I guess right up in front of the high school, was that the new superintendent, and she's no longer there, she did not want alumni teaching there. So this was my big plan. This is what I was going to do. I was going to go back and teach at my old high school like the teachers that I had. So I wasn't able to do that. And we could argue whether that was, whether that was fair or unfair, whatever. It doesn't matter at this point. It is what it is. So I pivoted, and I went back to grad school for psychology, and I became a counselor, which is what I've done for years. I've done mental health counseling. Currently, I do drug and alcohol counseling. I've done sex offender counseling. I've done counseling with families, with children, worked with the foster care system, etc. Here's what I figured out. I spent a lot of years lamenting the fact that I wasn't able to do the plan that I wanted to do. Okay? I wanted to be teaching at my old high school. And right now, at age 52, I'd probably be looking at retirement right now with a teacher's pension and everything else. But maybe that's not what was supposed to happen. Okay? In my travels as a counselor, I like to think I've helped a lot of people. I've had a lot of clients tell me that I've helped them. Now, in drug and alcohol, helping them could mean helping them stay alive. Now, ideally, the client is going to do that, and you're just kind of a guide. But I've had plenty of clients tell me that they're thankful that they've had me as a counselor, and that I really, really helped them get through a really hard time. I've had some tell me, you saved my life. And that's hard to hear. I kind of self-deprecate when I hear that, because I don't want credit for that. But imagine if my original plan had gone through, and I would have been a teacher. Of course, my thought would be hopefully I would have helped students and helped them learn and appreciate learning, etc. But maybe this is just what I was supposed to do. And when that thought kind of permeated my brain, it gave me a whole new perspective on feeling disappointment about the past. So the point is, whether you like my story or whether you don't, maybe you are where you are for a reason. And maybe it's time to think about that. So maybe it's time to stop looking backward about what you didn't do and look at all the wonderful things you were able to accomplish. And maybe, just maybe, that's just what you were supposed to do. Self-disclosure, full self-disclosure, I am nowhere near okay with this every day. That I am, as I've always said in my self-help videos, a work in progress. So I may wake up tomorrow and be very angry that I wasn't able to teach at Model High School again. I don't know. Hopefully I won't. But I've come to terms with the fact that it's just possible. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. And guess what? Maybe you are too. That's it for now. Take care. Peace.